Hey everyone, Sarvis here today to talk about the patch notes, which we just got very recently, about 3.5 hours ago as I'm recording this, and this will probably be up in an hour or so, depending on how long their ender takes. But the first nerf we have is Heimer, a champ that I feel like has been very problematic, and I'm very happy to see this nerf. On top of that, there's an additional nerf too, but now his tech, the 3 mana, is a fearsome instead of the elusive keyword. One of the most annoying things was it playing a Flash of Brilliance, and then you can't interact with the elusives very well. The 4 mana now has Overwhelm, and the 6 mana has Elusive. Something that people are talking about now is the possibility of Lux in Heimer being a lot more... Something that people are talking about is Lux and Heimer being played a lot more. I see this as a potential, but however, I think defensively you could still have a hard time, and being able to play Heimer on 5 and do nothing seems like it's going to be pretty tough overall, so I'm not quite sure. Overall, I feel like Heimer, it's kind of a band-aid solution because I feel like he's going to need more reworks in the future to make him work but not be so polarizing. But for now, I think he'll be in a spot where we don't really see him played very much. Maybe some kind of Heimer deck comes out, but who can really say for sure. Overall, I feel like he's going to go down and play by a lot, especially on the EU ladder. Next is Braum, and he's going back to 0 power. I've heard a lot of people say that they think he's still going to be good. Personally, I'm of the opinion that Braum's just dead now. And the reason being is that, I mean, think about it this way. Hit him with a 3 mana 0/5. Like, he has to be able to kill things and trade with things in aggro, because just blocking it is just letting them they're just making a wider board against you. Like, yeah, you stop some attack, but you're not actually taking care of the board at all. So I don't really see how he's going to be able to do well. Of course, you can be like, oh, you can just, you know, buff him up and stuff, but the buff options really aren't that great, and they're pretty slow, especially when you're wanting to play Braum against aggro. You can still be okay against, like, Demacia mid-range, but still, I think overall Braum's pretty dead. I think I just much rather play, like, Ashe in Sejuani or something instead. There's just much stronger options than Braum now. Anivia going to 1 health, so she now dies to Withering Wail and Vile Feast and some others. I think dying to Vile Feast is definitely helpful, although a lot of regions don't have access to pings anyway. I guess you could make an argument for like Blade's Edge and Noxus, but no one really runs that card. I don't think this makes a huge difference, but I think it's something. Like, I think I like it better than nothing for sure, so I'm pretty okay with this change, and I think it's closer to neutral, but like toning down Anivia just a teeny tiny bit, nothing huge though. Relentless Pursuit is now a slow spell. Generally, I played it as a slow spell anyway. There are a few times where playing Relentless Pursuit was important during the combat, but overall, I don't think this changes it too much. It definitely is a slight nerf, but not a huge one. Enough where I'm not worried about Relentless Pursuit. I like the change overall. I think it's fair, and I think it's good to give it a slight, you know, tap down in power, but overall it's still a very strong card. It's still S tier, A tier card. It's still really, really strong. Arena Bookie from 3 cost to 2 and a 1 health 2/2. I don't think this card is going, I don't know, this card's really hard. It's either still going to be like unplayable, or it might be played in discard some just because of Draven's Axes. It's really hard to say. A 2 mana 2/2 just isn't the greatest stat line. Like, we have 1 mana 2/2s in this game, so I'm not sure if that's going to be able to do enough against aggro. I'm not, like, if you're playing aggro, I'm not for sure if you're going to be able to attack with this ever. If you can attack with it, you're not getting the value. If it's just getting blocked, then you're also not getting the value from it, so it's a bit, I'm not sure if it will be played or not. Maybe, yeah, I don't really know where you would put this guy. I don't think it's going to quite work in aggro still. The Basilisk Rider, 5 power to 4 power. I think this card's still very good. I think this is a really good thing for toning it down. Its power, though, it's a bit too much. I think taking down the power was better than taking down the health as well. And still, 4 mana 4/3 if it misses the allegiance. I mean, but yeah, going down on power helps a lot, although Overwhelm can still be a pretty scary keyword overall. I think this is the kind of tone down power that we really needed. Crimson Disciple now does 1 damage instead of 2. I don't know how much Crimson Disciple will be played now. I can't really say it kills the card, but man, it really hurts my Swain decks and my Vlad decks, which is really sad to think about. And my Curator, it's like you know, it's one of my favorite combos to play. It's not unplayable, which is good. Like, my combos can still have fun, but wow, it hurts a lot. It makes Ember Maiden feel like it needs to be ran in Swain more often in Swain decks to level him up on time, but I mean, you don't have to have that either, but I personally like it a lot. I don't know how much he gets played in aggro. I'd have to look at the other 2-drop options. We also see Grenadier. In some ways this is kind of a buff. Like, it's like a neutral-ish card. It's less burn damage, which is something pretty much all people wanted, of the burn damage being just a bit too much of just direct face damage between these 2 cards is pretty nuts. But now it's only doing 1, but the stats on it are huge. Like, this not dying to make it rain, not dying to Vile Feast. I mean, that's nuts difference. That is a huge difference. In some ways, this card is just better. Like, a 2-mana 3/2, and you do damage no matter what. Pretty good card. I think this is a really big change. Yeah, it makes him a lot better against the SI control, I feel like, right now. But I wouldn't call it a buff either, just to clarify. I think putting it into the stats instead of the last breath, I like it much better. However, this needs a space here, right? It's last breath, but 1 word. I'm sure they'll fix that later. Flash of Brilliance, a 3/4. I like this change a lot. It's something I complained about, is I think the refill your spell mana is still a little bit spooky, but this being on 3, now it's with an Overwhelm unit. Yeah, it's still alright, but him making so many elusives was really frustrating for pretty much everyone to play against, and now we have this instead, and I think Flash of Brilliance just isn't played anymore. I think overall this card just kind of goes away. I don't think we even put Heimer. Yeah, I don't think we put this with Heimer anymore. I think it's pretty done. Some Treasure, 2 to 3 cost, and it's discard, draw 1. A 3-mana 4/3 with no keyword is just not that good. It needs Overwhelm or something. Like, it has to have something else going on here. Just 3-mana 4/3 is, I mean, it's average, but it's just not great here. It might be played in aggro still just because, you know, it can go with Vision and other discard cards. I'm not saying it won't be played, but I don't think this makes the card, like, that much better overall. I like the 2-mana 4/3 quite a bit too because I thought that was kind of fun. But yeah, I don't really see too much change going on here. Sunlight Urchin, this one's probably my favorite change as far as buffs go. And the reason being the last breath, draw 1 to play me, discard 1. I think if that's what it was before, but now it's to play me, discard 1, and draw 1. I think you can put this in control list as well. I think it goes in aggro list. It's 1 mana 2/1. It's good all the time, essentially. Except for when you top deck it, it's your only card in hand, that kind of sucks. But I think this is so good for cycling right now. I think this is huge. The fact that you have another option as soon as you play her is nuts. Just being able to cycle through your deck like that. I think she is very, very strong now. I think we'll see her quite a bit more. Shadow Assassin for 1 power to 2 power. I'm of the opinion that this just guts the card. I think the card is pretty done. I know not everyone has that opinion because they're like, well, it draws. I assume there's just going to be better ways to draw. Also, there's not like a ton of draw in the game right now. Like, Bilgewater kind of has a lot, but besides that, you don't really need it. And other Ionia lists are also losing their draw too, so you need it even less. And I don't really see this going in the elusives anymore. This is a card that I'm surprised they didn't. I thought if they were going to change it, they would have done it a while ago. So it surprises me a bit that they ended up changing it. I also think it's a bit funny is we've seen elusives nerfed like literally every single patch, and they still become a tier 1 deck somehow. And that's a bit scary to think about how are we supposed to balance these when we're nerfing them every single time they're still tier 1. I think that's part of the issue with the elusive keyword itself being polarizing. It's just polarizing, meaning that you have to have the answer. If you don't have the answer, then you're going to lose. So it's interesting to see this change, but I'm very welcome and open to it. Steel Tempest, Yasuo decks Rejoice. Going down from 3 mana to 2 mana. I don't know. A lot of people are saying they think it's still going to be really bad. A part of it is because it's only an attacking enemy. But, like, for some reason, like, my intuition, like, my gut feeling is it's going to be a lot better than people think it is. Like, a 2 mana, stop a 6/4 with Overwhelm, or I guess 5/4 with Overwhelm now. It's pretty good. I don't know. I think people are kind of quick to call this card bad. Like, they still think it's bad, and I'm thinking it's 2 mana. I can do 2 mana and play something else and activate my Eye of the Dragon and claws and stuff. I don't know. I think I'll put it in a Yasuo deck. Maybe not as a 3-of, but like a 1 or a 2-of. I think it's gonna be played, and I think people, I don't know if I could say they might be sleeping on it, but I think it's better than people think. I think we're so used to seeing this card as like a bad card, and now at 2 mana, we're all like, oh, it's still a bad card, and we never play Steel Tempest, and I'm kind of like, you know what, I think I might have to play it now. I know it's a delay, but Yasuo level up, stop my opponent's attack, 2 mana, I still have a lot more I can do on my turn. I think it might be okay. River Shaper. So, what comes to mind is Shin Fiora decks. I don't know if the 2 health makes much of a difference. It's really hard to say. It kind of depends what we are seeing in the meta. I mean, dies the Mystic Shot, which isn't like the best way to decide a card, by the way. But, of course, the buff can help, but I don't really see it doing a ton, personally. Might be played just because the meta of Will of Ionia getting the nerf makes Fiora a bit better. Speaking of the Will of Ionia nerf, now to 5 mana. Personally, I was of the opinion where I don't think Will of Ionia was as big as the problem as pretty much everyone else feels like. I'm very much in the minority of that, I feel like, but I don't mind the nerf, honestly. It's like, okay, fine, it's nerfed, whatever. My Leviathans get a bit better, which is cool, but I think this goes down to a 2 and a 1-of, unless sometimes 0-of. I don't think Will is as good as other people thought, but I do think it limited the meta diversity. I do think that is a good argument, and I'm not too worried about things going out of check now, except, I don't know, Fiora could be a bit more scary than people are giving it credit for, but that's kind of my own personal opinion on that. Golden Narwhal, just, he's kind of a meme. Maybe he's a bit better, actually, but the vulnerable just hurts so much. He might be able to get some damage in early, which can be important in elusive decks, but the fact that you can just kill him so easily later, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hunting Fleet, 5 cost to 4 cost, 7 power to 6 power, 7 power to 6 power. So they just changed that a little bit lower to kind of match the Golden Narwhal change. With it being a summon effect, not a play effect, hurts it quite a bit. 4 mana, 6/6 stats just generally aren't worth it for summoning an elusive for your opponent. And that's about all I have to say about that. Overall, this is probably my favorite patch they've ever done. I've been a bit on some of the patches they've done, and quite honestly, that's why I haven't made videos over it, or at least part of the reason. Truly, my patch review videos don't do as well, but as well as the fact that I wasn't like super happy with the changes. I was a bit disappointed even, and I didn't really want to spread that negativity about how I was feeling at the time, although I was excited for Braum and Anivia for sure, but knowing that Braum's change would be too much. But I think this patch is Riot's best patch right now. I think issue being these make Jinx so much worse, and Jinx is already like one of the lowest played champions of the game, and Crimson Disciple makes Braum and makes the Clad and the Curator and the Crimson package much worse, and you all know that's like my favorite thing to play. So that's a bit tough, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. I think these are great changes, and I'm really excited for what we have to look ahead.
That's how we do things in Bilgewater.